G'day legends, I'm Brenno and I'm back again with another tips and techniques video to get you camping and four driving better than ever before. In a previous life, I was the editor of 4WDrive Action magazine, and what that means is that I've been lucky enough to camp and four drive my way around every single part of Australia. And I want to share with you the secrets and tricks that I've learned along the way that'll make your next off-road adventure the best one ever. So this time around, it is a beautiful sunny day and we're here on the beach to do a bit of sand driving. I'm going to let you in on the secrets to avoid getting bogged when you hit the beach and make sure that your next beach adventure is hassle-free and stress-free. I reckon there is not much better than four driving on a sunny day on a beautiful beach, and I really want to make sure that you all enjoy it too. So in this video, we'll first start off talking about the techniques and the theory behind beach driving. Then we'll hit the sand and we'll put it into practice. I'll show you some cracking tips to make sure you don't get bogged, but if you do, don't sweat it, because I'll show you how to get out whether you're by yourself or with a mate. This right here is your glove box guide to beach driving. Now, before we hit the beach, let's talk gear for a minute. And don't sweat if all of this stuff looks expensive, because the reality is the entire cost of all this stuff is about the same price as one night at a dodgy motel up the road, not a whole lot. So what do you need to go beach four-wheel driving? First up, quickie tyre deflator. It's a cracking bit of gear, costs about the same as a six-pack, lets you drop your tyres really quickly and really accurately, and it is vital for making sure you don't get bogged out on the dunes. Now, if you don't carry anything else in the back of your four-wheel drive when you go beach driving, promise me you'll carry this, the Humble Snatch Strap. This one here is an 8-ton Hercules snatch strap, and I got a couple of rated bow shackles too. Even if you go four-wheel driving by yourself, if you do get bogged, someone's probably going to come along eventually, and if you've got your own recovery gear, you'll have a way of getting out, and it's always good practice to use your own recovery gear too. Next, worth its absolute weight in gold out on the beach, the mighty long-handled shovel. Now I'm going to show you a couple of tricks of how to use this really effectively very soon. And finally, at the end of the day, you've got to pump your tyres back up before you hit the blacktop, and for that, a 12-volt air compressor. Now this right here is the Thumper Max Mark II. It's a dead set speed demon. I absolutely love mine. All right, so the number one rule to prevent getting stuck when you're out on the sand is to lower your tyre pressures. Now I've just used my quickie tyre deflator to drop these tyres down to 16 PSI. That's where you want to be when you're out on the beach. Want to know more about tyre pressures and the effect that they have on four-wheel drive performance? Click that link in the top right corner where I go into tyre pressures in detail. Now the other thing to be aware of is tide times. Now there are 4 tides every single 24-hour period, too low, too high. What you want to aim to do is hit the beach about 2 hours before dead low tide. That way the water's on the run out, you've got as much wide, firm, hard sand as possible, and you've got around about a 4-hour period until that sand starts disappearing and the water keeps coming back up again. Driving on low, hard-packed sand at low tide is way easier than high tide, super soft sand. Right, so one more thing just before we hit the beach, let's talk gear selection. Now, if you're in a four-wheel drive that has selectable two-wheel drive, high range and low range, what you want to be is in four-wheel drive high range. That gives you the best combination between wheel speed and keeping the revs as low as possible. If you're in a full-time four-wheel drive or SUV, high range again, but if you have a center diff lock, hit that button. It'll lock the front and the rear axles together. You can do low range if you need to, if you're really struggling, but high range is ideal. And of course, if you've got manual locking hubs, don't forget to lock them in. Now, how good is this? I dead set love beach four-wheel driving. A massive part of when you're out on the beach here is mechanical sympathy. It's about making sure that you look after your vehicle so you don't cook it on any day, but especially on hot days. And it's all about finding that sweet spot, that balance between getting your four-wheel drive to go where you want it to go and not pushing it too hard. Now, a big trick to sand driving is about getting your vehicle to move as efficiently as possible whilst using as little throttle input as possible. Watch what happens when I put my foot to the floor when I take off. Oh, all that does is bog down. That's just wheel spinning. That's not what you want. Now, I'll come to a stop and watch what happens when I gently ease onto the throttle. That is so much easier. That is night and day. So busy beaches do get chopped up, and deep ruts like this on busy beaches make four-wheel driving really tricky. Now the trick here
is to find a well-defined set of ruts and stay in them, because the sand's already compacted, compressed within the ruts. Much easier for your four-wheel drive to follow those tracks. A lot of the time you probably won't have much choice anyway. Your wheels are going to want a tram track and you're going to stay in the ruts. Now we've talked about how to get going and how to keep going when you're four-wheel driving. Now let's talk about how to stop. Like your steering and your throttle inputs, your braking input should be gentle and gradual. Instead of jumping on the brakes and screeching to a stop when you want to pull up, just slip the gearbox into neutral and let the sand do the work. Just watch the difference that rolling gently to a stop makes, as opposed to jumping on the brakes and skidding to a stop. And that just makes it so much easier to take off again when you're ready to get going. So the hard packed sand that's down near the waterline is definitely easier to drive on than the soft stuff up the beach a little bit. But if you find yourself bogging down a little bit, that's because deceptively dry sand can actually hide water underneath it. If that happens and you look in your mirrors and you see water in those wheel ruts behind you, don't panic, just gently turn away from the water, just get yourself up onto the drier sand. Want to have a crack at a bit of dune driving away from the beachfront? The number one rule here is to only ever drive straight up or down the dune, never on a cross angle that risks rolling the vehicle over. You can safely drive down an almost sheer dune by keeping the nose pointed straight down and using only the slightest bit of throttle to keep you just ahead of the sand that you're bringing down with you. Remember that golden rule, straight up, straight down, never sideways. Okay, so something that's not only common courtesy, but actually an Australian road rule is to make sure you pass on the left. So if you see an oncoming car, just flick your blinker on the left so that he knows you're passing left. Thanks, champ. And that you know that he's passing left. And if he's coming towards you and he puts his blinker on first, just give him a quick left-hand blinker as a bit of acknowledgement. And because road rules apply, all beaches do have speed limits, whether they're signposted or not. Take it easy, always slow right down around people, and leave those coldies in the fridge until you get back to camp. Oh no. All right, so what happens when it all goes wrong and you get stuck? Look, don't sweat it, because everyone gets bogged on the beach at some time, but there's a massive difference between being stuck just a little bit and being bogged to your chassis rails for hours. And the difference is making sure that when you do lose a bit of momentum, the first thing you do is hop out and have a look at what's going on. Ha, now that is pretty stuck, but crazily enough, that's actually not too bogged. There's a big difference between stopping when you first lose momentum or keeping going, keeping those wheels spinning and just turning your day so much worse. Now, if you have a bit of a look, it's pretty obvious to see why we're stuck here. We just got a build up of sand underneath the suspension, under the tires, around the tires. So the first thing I'm gonna do here before I do anything else is get the shovel out. So what we're gonna do here with the long handled shovel is just get into the digging. Now, what you wanna do is create a bit of a ramp just in front and behind each of the tires. Clear away a bunch of sand, and that way the tire's not trying to climb up a little hill, it's got a gentle slope for it to drive forwards or reverse backwards. Now with those little ramps dug in front and behind all four tires, what I'm gonna do is start the vehicle and gently do a back forwards rocking motion to see if I can rock myself out of where I'm stuck. Well, that definitely didn't work. Look, sometimes it doesn't matter how much you dig, you need a snatch recovery or you're not going anywhere, especially if you're like where I am right now and you're bogged to your chassis rails. Luckily, I've got a mate that I prepared earlier. Hey Mitcho, come give us a hand, champ. And we're gonna show you how to do an effective snatch recovery on the beach. Now, situations like this, where you're seriously bogged on the beach, that's where the mighty Hercules snatch trap comes into play. Think of this like a giant rubber band. Under tension, where the recovering vehicle drives away, this thing actually stretches up to 20%. When it reaches its limit of stretch, it recoils, and then you get the power of not only the towing vehicle towing you, but the strap recoiling to spring you free. Let me show you the right and the wrong ways to use this. Firstly, when you attach a snatch trap to your vehicle, make sure you only ever do it via proper heavy-duty rated recovery points. Now, these are almost always bolted to the chassis rail, not tack welded like those little eyelets that they use for tying vehicles down when they're shipping them.
Okay, so please promise me there's one thing that you will never do when you're out on the beach and you're four-wheel driving. Don't ever drop the end of a snatch strap over a tow ball. Tow balls are not designed to withstand the kind of shear forces that snatch recoveries generate. They have been known to snap, and when they snap, the snatch strap is at such insane tension that couple of kilos of metal ball gets flung at 1,000,000 miles an hour and it'll go through a windscreen, go through a back window. People sadly have been killed this way. It's incredibly tragic. I'm attaching my snatch strap to the tow bar the right way with my Adventure King's hitch receiver. This ultra strong bit of gear simply attaches with the hitch pin and has a rated bow shackle to turn your tow bar into a proper recovery point. But in a pinch, you can remove the tow ball completely, slide the snatch strap into the tow bar and secure it with a pin. That's still safer than putting the snatch strap over the tow ball. And if you got one handy, a winch dampener or even an old jumper is a vital bit of safety gear. Drop it over about the middle of your snatch strap, so if something does break, it'll arrest whatever's flying through the air. Okay, first let's show you the wrong way to do it. Notice how Mitch has driven to the end of the strap so the tension's already been taken up. This means there's no elasticity available and the snatch strap's acting like a tow strap with no extra advantage when trying to recover the bogged vehicle. Now let's show you the right way to do it. Mitch is backing up so he's about half a car length away from me. As he takes off, he'll give it just a little bit. When all the strap's tension is taken up and it's as stretched as far as it can, it'll recoil and add extra energy to pull me free. And one last final thing, as the towing vehicle takes off, the bogged vehicle should feed gentle acceleration on at the same time. And look at that, we're free. That is one successful snatch recovery. And one last piece of advice, don't sweat it if you haven't got the biggest, baddest four-wheel drive out there, because when you're on the beach, stock standard vehicles can actually perform just as well as highly modified ones. Just keep your tire deflator, your air compressor, your snatch strap and shackles, and of course your long-handled shovel with you, and you'll have a blast. Legends. For more tips, tricks and techniques to become a four-wheel drive guru, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget, you can stay in touch with 4WD Drive Super Centre on our Facebook page, our Instagram, our Twitter, and at 4WDrivesupercentre.com.au.